So I often think that we tend to overthink things a lot, in the sense that, we hesitate before doing something, or, we make this choice as often. I think about this sort of industry versus staying in school debate that happens. And if you talk to a lot of professors, they'll say, oh, you got to stay in school. Um, for as long as you can. And then other people that have not done that, they'll tell you the opposite. And they will be completely happy on either side. And that's where I want you to sort of think about, instead of really getting upset in any particular domain, right? And thinking like, oh, I could only do this thing. You don't know. You don't have those opportunities right now. And the only way that you could figure this out is if you go do it and you actually get practical experience in any of those particular domains to figure out whether it's actually good. Right until that time, it's all speculation. So the only thing that you could do is just look, apply, work at something, right? Like I think it's funny, right? Like people dream about what it means to do a particular career, and then they get the experience, right? They actually do it and they realize, I don't like this. And you don't know until you're actually thrown in the moment to figure out what it's actually like and what you're going through. So if you want to become a CEO, um, go become a secretary, executive assistant for somebody that's a CEO, and you'll realize, like, oh, do I like this? Do I not like this? Many of you will determine that you actually don't like it because there's too much that's going on. Some of you might actually like it. And it doesn't matter at any particular stage, right? Start a little tiny small business on the side to figure out whether you like this, and you can figure out the sort of ratcheting up over time that is going to happen. And you can't figure that out until you actually do it. Instead of making some massive investment into something, or, if you want to do, stay in school and go into college, for a long time and get into the whole research thing and all that kind of stuff, go get that experience, right? Like actually write something on this side where you're doing this. Um, Apply to a bunch of jobs. And if one job sends you something, then you have a decision, right? When you have that opportunity where somebody, an employer, is actually saying, come work for us, we want to offer you a job, then you have a decision. Until that point, it's all speculation, it's all made up, and you're overthinking things, right? So the only thing that you could do is just keep trying different things. Nothing, you're not going to really know until you actually try. And I think about that a lot, in terms of, should I invest a whole bunch of time and effort into something? And the truth is not, because a lot of these things are almost determined beforehand, but the only way that you know how to do it is you actually put that investment in and you go through and you do it. Um, what am I actually talking about here? Like things like, getting a grant, for example, where they're gonna fund you regardless, and your job is to figure out how you can test that particular domain. And so you test it, right? You see if you can actually do this. You see if people want to participate in this particular project that you're working on. And so you put in a little bit of effort and see what happens. If people resonate, then by all means, go do it. If people ignore you, well, then you know what your answer is, right? I want you to think about all of these things. How can you really experiment and try things and find out what it is that you are meant to actually do? And you never know what it actually is until you actually try it and you go through the practice of doing it, right? Until that moment, it's all speculation. It's all silly. You're poorly informed. You don't know what's going on, and you don't even have those opportunities anyways. So instead of censoring yourself and doing something that is going to limit yourself, just try. Like, there's no harm. nothing bad is going to happen. You can find something, realize you love it, and stick with it, or you realize, this sucks, and go back to what you were doing before. And trust me, it doesn't matter that much in the end in terms of what's going on. If somebody is willing to lock you out based on the fact that you tried something and experimented, um, the problem is on them, honestly. If you tried a particular domain and it didn't work out and people didn't recognize it, like, that's their problem. And you have to realize that the only way that you could do well is by exploring and trying things and going out there and trying. And if the world doesn't, they lock you out, they say, "Oh, I would never hire that person because they tried and it didn't work out." What on earth kind of signal is that actually saying? Right? Like, you tried something, you were more brave than most people, and then it didn't work out, and so we're going to use this as an indicator that you're no good. That's bizarre. That is a strange logic to me. I would be much more excited if somebody tried something, they have some great experiences, they realized it wasn't quite working out for them, and then they learned and they realized that they wanted to go back to what they were doing in the first place. I'm saying, don't overthink things. It's not that big of a deal. Go experiment. It's your life. You only have a few short moments on this earth to go do things that you really would love to do. Figure the hell out what those things are and just go out and explore and realize it's all a playground anyways, and everybody else is making shit up as they go too. So don't get too overwhelmed with this, and have some fun.